This is When I Grow Up with Paul Glazby.
Danny,
Morning.
welcome. You okay?
Yeah,
so
good,
it's
thank you.
9 a.m. where you are?
Yeah, just 9 a.m. Yeah.
Yep. Well, it's 7 p.m. in Australia, but I'm glad that we've got you on. For anyone that doesn't know, me and Danny have got a bit of a history, and I think you're probably one of the favourite people I've ever had in my life. That time we were driving to the paintball place and I nearly crashed the car because you had me laughing so hard. And I can't even remember what it was about. But I remember
I mean, some nonsense, wasn't it?
You were talking about like shooting fireworks at people.
Oh yeah. Shooting fireworks at each other.
Yeah.
It'll be something like that, definitely.
Anyway, so your background, you were in the army, you've been a rugby player, you've been a trainer, and obviously we're going to talk about what's happening in the next chapter of your journey. But did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Yeah, I mean, at school, I was a sportsman, I never really went to school in terms of, classes and that. I was too it was boring, schoolwork was boring. So, but back then, there wasn't the truant officer and all that. You didn't phone up your mum and dad when you didn't go to school. You just, if you didn't show up, you didn't show up. But the sports teacher, Mr. Bodie, who was a massive influence on my life, he used to say, as long as you turn up Saturday morning, Danny, for rugby, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So nobody, yeah. So I used to play football and rugby and cricket for the school, athletics, and
Yeah.
he was a massive influence on me, and in terms of the sports side of it. So I always thought I was going to be a sportsman. Actually, I thought I was going to be a top level some sports person of some sorts, because I used to love it. I used to sit in maths looking out the window at the sports field, and they'd be like, "Danny, what are you doing?" I say, "I'm looking out the window."
I've just scored a try.
Yeah, I'm staring out the window, so there's people playing sport out there, and be like, "Well, you never amount to anything." I'm like, "Well, yeah, whatever." I was never really bothered. But my dad, he's another massive influence on my life. My dad's a scrap man, big tough guy. He's got his big roll of money on his hip, spit shaking hands and spitting, that sort of proper tough scrap man. And he used to take me out to school and work with him. So when I was like, 12, 13, I was on the work, bunking off school, working with him in the week. And I'd get 50, 60 quid a week, at that age in 1980s was pretty good. So, and I'd be like cock of the youth club, because I'd have a few quid in my pocket and all that. But so he liked me playing sport, and he weren't really interested in it. But he was more interested in me working with him, and I sort of I juggled playing sport and not going to school really. Well, I did go, but not like as often as my mother thought. And my dad used to take me working and stuff. So I was always around men, so I'd be working with men, I'd be going to the scrapyard with men, and my dad was a bare knuckle fighter, as part of, not like for professional or anything like that. I used to just have scraps in car parks, and he'd fight at so we'd go to the scrapyard. I'd think we're just weighing in a load of scrap, and there'd be some geezer there, some gypsy or something, waiting for a rumble with my dad, and I'd be like, "Oh God, what's happening here?" It was crazy. And he'd level this gypsy or something like that, and then he'd say, "Right, come on." He said, "Don't tell your mother." You know, crazy, crazy. Arm wrestling for money, or arm wrestling for this. You know, he'd say to the guy, "Right, I've got this scrap. I'll arm wrestle you for double or squits or whatever." And I'd be there thinking, "This is crazy. This is crazy." But my mum, so I was doing that, and it was a great time. I playing sport, working with my dad. It was sort of best thing ever happened. I remember one time, and he used to test me all the time. I mean, all the time, test me grit and test me whether I had it in me to be a tough guy. And I'm not really that, compared to him. I'm a watered down version of him, And I remember once, it was during the miners' strike. I don't know if your viewers, people in Australia, people who are listening, know what happened. So in
people know
the
about it. Yeah.
80s, right, so the miners' strike happened, and it shut all the mining down, didn't it? And people were out of work on strike and out of work for years, weren't it? It was like 2 years. And they were I lived in a mining village, so the local pit shut down, and there was always picket lines, and everybody at school was affected, all the kids, because all the parents were miners, families. And I remember coming home, and my dad used to have a big old lorry parked on drive, which was always a area of concern for the local residents, because it was quite posh area, not posh area, but all right. And it never bit like us next door, scrapyard. My dad having fires in the yard and lorry parked up, and all that. So I gets home, and lorry front windows smashed, and I'm like, oh, so I've got my school uniform on, and my dad goes into the kitchen, and my mum says, I said, oh, what's happened to lorry? And she goes, oh, you'll have to wait for your dad to tell you. So my dad comes in, he's like fuming. He goes, get upstairs and get your jeans on and your dockers on. We're going to picket line to sort them lot out. And I said, oh, what's happened? And I'm like flapping around. He's like, one of picket line fellas had chucked a brick through as I was driving past in lorry. And he says, I'm only 13. And he's like, get upstairs. We're going to go, me and you, we're going down. We're going to have a rumble and sort them all out. And I'm like, okay. So I goes upstairs, and I'm thinking, oh my God, it's happening. It's my first real fight. I'm thinking I'm with my dad, and we're going to fight these men. And so I pulls on, and I could hear my mum downstairs going, oh, Ralph, leave him alone. He's only 13. And he's going, no, he'll have to bloody learn. He'll have to bloody learn what's going on. So I pulls my jeans on, and I goes downstairs, and he's there laughing. He goes, I was just testing you, son, to see if you'd come. And what happened, a bird had flown in window and broke the window. But he was testing me, see if I would. And he goes, I'm proud of you, son. Well done, you passed the test. I was like, I wasn't bothered. I was just so relieved that I didn't have to go, Yeah, he's an absolutely top man, my dad, but he's like, like crazy. He's 80 and he's still working on scrap. He's still a big old lump, and he's got, yeah. He used to have this like 25 kilogram, well, it's about 20, I'd say about 20 kilogram, like brick with a handle in the middle of it, like weight. And he used to be out garden on Sunday mornings, and he's snatching it, and he's going, and it used to like, I'd be laid in bed on a Sunday morning, and they'd be chucking pebbles up at the window, and I'd look out, and he'd be going, come on, onto the garden. And I'd be like still in bed. He'd be like, come on. And he'd get me down. He said, right, we're having a spar. And then he used to stand on my feet, on my front foot, and give me some. And then he said, right, 25 of these snatches. I'm only like 13, 14. It was like killing me. Crazy. But it made me, really resilient and tough, and even though I wasn't like mentally that sort of aggressive or anything like that, but it made me real. I thought everybody everybody's were like doing that, so I didn't think it was a norm. I thought it was a norm, you know. That's how you interacted with your dad. Crazy. Yeah, and he's left me. He's left me places as well. So I mean, nowadays you'd think of like I tell people nowadays the story, and the stories about what I used to do, and they said, "Bloody hell, they'd get child services on you now." You know, they'd be locked up. I think. Yeah, I remember once we were in Retford, and it was about I don't know 10 miles from where we used to live, and it was a really hot day, and I was basically we were knocking down this shop in between two other shops, so it was right. So we had to knock these walls down and then shovel, and they were knocking the walls down, and I was basically labourer, weren't I? So I was just filling the barrow, pushing the barrow, emptying the barrow. All day. It was arduous, you know, like, and he used to say, "Oh, can I have a drink of pop, Dad?" He'd be like, "Shut up, we'll have a break in a bit." And I'm like, you know, just keep going, just keep going. And look, this one day, I let Barrett. I was working above him, and I let the barrow go, and it fell down like the old stairwell, and missed him by about half an inch. Yeah. And he went absolutely, and it was an accident, and he went absolutely. I was like, oh man, oh no. When it fell, I was like, oh, I'm in for it here. Anyway, he bollocked me, and then at the end of the day, he said, right, empty your pockets. Emptied my pockets, so I must have had a few shekels in there, and he said, right, make your own way home. And him and the lads just drove off and left me in Retford. He says, I had to set off walking. So by the time he got home, my mum said, "Oh, where's Danny?" And she says, I've left him in bloody Retford. So she ended up coming and getting me. I said, I was like trudging along. I was like, is this Jesus? I'm like, what time will I get home here? So, yeah, I mean, like I said, you'd get in trouble now for teaching your kids like that. But I tell that story. People, I said before, I tell that story. People think, "Bloody heck!" But I just took it as I loved all that. You know, like I didn't think he didn't hit me, or he never really horrible to me. Just for teaching me lessons, you know, about resilience and making sure I didn't drop the barrow, because there's consequences to your actions and things like that. You know, and all that stood me in really good stead. And I pass that on to my lad now. So I tell my lad these stories, and he's like, "Oh my God, Dad."
Well, I was going to say, what's your dad like with Gene? You know, like,
oh, he's soft as shit. They all are, aren't they, grandparents? They are all grandparents. When he's like getting older, Gene, going, "Oh, I love you, son." I'm like, where were that? When I was 14. Where were I around? There were none of that. Yeah, so he's great.
Your dad sounds like a rough version of Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Do you know? I don't think that he knows. He didn't he weren't sort of. I think he's just who he is. You know, I don't think he knows. I don't think he set out to. I think he's just who he is. And his dad was a real tough, horrible man. You know, he would treat him pretty roughly, and it knocked him around a little bit. And I think my dad's a watered down version of his dad. I'm a watered down version of my dad. And Gene's like me, but not as, you know, he's a bit calmer than I am. I'm quite excitable sometimes, for want of a better thing. So go back to your first question. My sort of goal really was to be a rugby player. Now, my dad met in the early 80s. My dad met the chairman of Bradford Northern at the time, a rugby league team, and he just in passing, they were drinking with him, and he said, "Oh, my lad's a rugby player, blah blah blah. He's played for you know, local representative when they were at school and all that." He says, "Well, bring him up and he can have a trial with us at Bradford Northern Rugby League." So rugby union, rugby league's obviously different, isn't it? So I went up, blooming heck, it were baptism of fire. I went up, ended up, what old was I? 15. I ended up, and it were 18s that were training, so they chucked me in with them lot. I got my arse handed me. Yeah, but it was a real good, test. And he said you did really well, son, and all that. So there was an opportunity there, which I didn't really follow up because I didn't know. My dad went overly pushy with that, because obviously we had to drive up to Bradford, and it were a bit logistics weren't right. And then my mum said to me one day, she said, "Look, you imagine what my mum's life were. Her husband was a crazy man, a scrap man, lived on his wits, bare knuckle fighting in car parks, in scrap yards, bit of a drinker. He liked going out. He once, for a laugh, took a sheep on a lead into the pub. It's like, people tell me these stories that he could. It's like crazy. So my mum was like worried, I think, that I was going down the same route as him. So she said to me, "Oh, I've had a look into it. Do you fancy looking at the army? The sport is really big, and you've got that sort of determination and resilience and strength in you. Would you fancy it?" And I went, "Oh, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it." And she goes, "Well, here's some bump about it." So I said to my mate Mal, he's not with us anymore, God rest his soul. What a beautiful guy, my best friend. Died a couple of years ago. I told him about it, and he says, "Oh, I've thought about it." And he's one of them guys. I'm sort of one of them guys that goes, if you sell it enough and you're confident enough, and you tell me, I'm like, "Yeah, come on, I'll run through." I'll follow you into hell. If you convince me enough to do it, and I buy into your ethos and your drive. It's like probably why I followed my dad, isn't it? Because he was intense and driven. I'll buy into it. Whereas my pal Mal was more like, I don't know. I'll have to have a think about it, or I'll have to do this and I'll have to do that. So we said, "Oh, let's go down to recruiting office in Sheffield then, and we'll have a look." So we went down to the recruiting office, and on the bus on the way down, Mal said, "I'm not signing up today, don't you?" I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "It's like, we're only going for a look." He goes, "Just as long, because I know what you like. We're just going to look, aren't we?" I was like, yeah, don't worry. Don't worry. So he goes into the recruiting office in town, and this guy, he stood there, and he's like,
"Is that the one that was on fire? Was it
Sheaf Market,
on the Wicker?"
Yeah, down the Wicker, yeah. It's still the Sheaf Market used to be.
Yeah, Sheep Market.
Just on the corner there, yeah. So I went in there, and yeah, that's right. Yeah, so he and this guy stood there like big song fella, and he says, "Oh, hello boys." So he says, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. I'm just coming for a look." And he went, "Obviously, they want their people to join their regiment, don't they? Because it's all different regiments in there. You've got the." So he says, "Oh, come and look at this video." So he took me into this room. I said, "I just want to be a soldier, a fighter." And he says, "All right, come here, follow me, son." And he says he put this video on of the Coldstream Guards marching on the Queen's birthday parade and fighting in doing their weapons and shooting and rugby and football, and I was just mesmerised. I was like, he's thinking I've got one here, rubbing his hands. He's like seeing me coming. So he said, "What do you think?" I went, "Yeah, he looks great." He goes, "Well, we've got a 3-day assessment, because you don't do it anymore, I don't think. They give you a date, and you go to Sutton Coldfield, an army camp down there, and you do 3 days, and they make you run, and they see if you've got the kahuna, so they give you, or you're not fast enough, you're not fit enough, come back in a few weeks or a few months, or whatever, get fitter, or you're not like mature enough yet, give it a couple of years and all that. I mean, I were a big old lump when I were that age, 15, 16, because I'd been on the scrap with my dad. I was physically fit from sport. I looked like, quite big. So I looked like a bloke, and I've been around blokes all working. So I was quite mature for my age. So I rocked up to this place, and I did all the tests, and they said, oh, right. And this was, I went to the careers office in February. I went to the careers office in March. In April, I went for this 3-day assessment, and they said, oh, we've got an intake joining in June. So as I went to the careers office, I went back to my mum, and she says, how was it? I said, oh, I'm going for an assessment in a month's time. She goes, what? I thought you were only going for a look. I says, yeah, I know. She goes, and when I went for the 3-day assessment, she goes, don't you be signing anything without asking us. Don't you be saying you're going to do stuff. I got back and said to her, right, you're going to have to sign that, Mum. I'm going in June. She went, you what? She goes, I'm going. I've got 2nd of June, I'm going. And she went, well, what? I said, yeah, well, that's it. I'm off. I didn't go back. I didn't go back till I was 30.
So tell us about your 18th birthday.
Yeah, when we had a chat about that, so I tried to work out the dates of when it was. So 90. So So what date was it? No, it was 21st birthday. It was 21st. I'm sure it was. But my birthdays were always in like my 18th and my 21st. I was always doing something that normal people are down boozer, aren't they? And I was It was 1990. I was 21, and the World Cup was on. So
in Italy, Italia 90.
Italia 90. Yeah. So we were in Scotland training. Getting ready to go on to Northern Ireland for tour, and we were in Scotland, and we were like, bloody hell, we're on a training course, like exercise and getting ready to go, and World Cup's on. Everybody were gutted. So, and we got through to the semi-finals, didn't we? And it was my birthday as well, on the same day as the semi-final. So me and my mate Dougie, we were in the same section in platoon. We got a Walkman, and we took it out with us on patrol, and we were out like for a week, and we took it out with us and said, right, we'll see if we can get a signal on radio on this little Walkman. They're so shit, aren't they? And we're up in mountains in Scotland, and we're crouched in this trench. It's like night time, and we've got like a spongy earphone each. And we're trying to listen to World Cup. Yeah. So I was 21 that night, in a trench. It was wet and raining, and when me and Dougie are there trying to listen to World Cup, and it was like, oh, shh, you got to be quiet, in case we get, like, because we were like sneaky beaky. Yeah, it was crazy. And then we went to South Armagh. Yeah, and then a year after we went to South Armagh, Northern Ireland for 6 months. Yeah, that was bandit country. That were tough. Yeah, but
that was after, right.
Yeah, so I tell you what. Do you know when I know that when I grow up is so when I got off when I went on that day to the 2nd of June when I left for the army, I sort of got off. I'd never been anywhere really. I'd only, when you get on a train and you're going to London when you're 16 and you don't know where you're going, you don't know what you're doing. And I'm like, excuse me, we get off at St Pancras. Excuse me, mister, how do I get to Brookwood from here? And he's like, down there. You're on tube, aren't you? And they make you wear a suit, and it was red hot. And then we go on a train from London to Brookwood, which is like a one-horse town in Surrey. And I remember getting off the platform, looking to my right, and there's this bloke stood there, full gear on, cap against his head, rigged, big, tall. He goes, down here. So I'm like, ooh. So gets me back, goes down the goes down, walks towards him. He says in a really thick Northern Irish accent, "Get on the bus." I was like, right. So I gets on the bus, and all the other lads get on, and everybody's really quiet. Everybody's really nervous, aren't they? Everybody's in the same boat. Nobody's talking. And this geezer gets on, and he stood on the front of the bus, and he goes, "My name's Sergeant Turner. You'll get to know me." And that was it. And I was like, yes, we're here. I love it like that. And he goes, so I said to myself, I said, right, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. I want to be that guy that stands on the platform and then says that on the bus and jump forward. About 7 years. I was a weapons instructor like him down there. That I wanted to do that. So my aim was to do the courses, do the propulsion courses in Brecon Beacons, get to a point where I could be a weapons instructor, tactics, nuclear biological warfare instructor, you name it, instructor, and go down and be on that training depot. You know, that's where the top boys go, and then they move, you know, the fast track, they're the guys. So I remember being stood, and it was said, right, who wants to go down the station and meet the new recruits? I'm like, I do. So my opportunity to do it. And so I was stood there, and I thought I'm going to do exactly what he did. And he walked towards me. And the thing is, though, you know how nervous they all are. You know, because you've been there, don't you? So it was like, get on the bus. And then I got on. And I remember, I think, right, so I got this, and I got on there, and all sat there, all these nervous faces looking at me, and I went, "My name's Sergeant Pilkington, you'll get to know me." And I sat down, and I was like, yes, I've done it. I sit down, I'm finished. I sort of achieved what I wanted to achieve in terms of that, because it was, and it's a long road, that, you know, getting to that, you know, in terms of courses and yeah, so. But I loved that, being down at the training depot. I loved it. The crack with the other instructors and getting the recruits through the process is really fantastic. You know, and you've got kudos when you're down there. You know, and you're like, you are somebody, and you're respected when you go back to your unit as well. That you're that sort of train. You know, you and also your own skills improve. Because I don't know about you, Paul, but when you teach anything, your own skills improve as well. And I always found that no matter what I did, you know, whether it be shooting, because I mean, when I first started shooting, I was basically just turning live rounds into empty cases. Yeah, you know, it like I'd firing a blunderbuss. It was just like. And you know, I was a terrible shot. I don't, because I couldn't. I was too, you know, I couldn't get that calmness, you know, of breathing and accuracy. I just couldn't get it, and because I was always a bit. My frequency's always a bit. There's always something rumbling under, you know, and as you know. But when I started teaching it, I started to take my own advice, and I became a really good shot after, you know, like after a while. Well, I say really good. You know, I could perhaps hit a barn door, sat on padlock, but yeah. So, and then I sort of achieved what I wanted to do. You know. Through the army. I mean, I'd done the Queen's Birthday Parade as a Coldstream Guardsman. You know, I'd done all the royal palaces. I'd been on guard at Windsor, at Buckingham Palace, St James's Palace. I'd done the state opening of Parliament. Do you know, recently, and this is so recently the guy called Perry Mason, he was the garrison sergeant major, so he's in charge of all London units. And he's in charge of do you know, we've just had the Queen's funeral, haven't we, and all that. He would have been in charge of all that, you know, coordinating it all. He's a top man. And he was about 6'8", and he was a proper, you know, everybody feared him, and he died recently. And I remember in a story that it was the state opening of Parliament, and we were our unit was in the inner quadrangle in Buckingham Palace, where do you know where you see that people get knighthoods and that, and they stand there with the medal and top hat and tails? Well, that's inside the quadrangle of the Buckingham Palace. So you look at Buckingham Palace, there's a walkway, and then in the middle is a big square. So we were in there waiting for all the dignitaries to come through into the palace. And we've been on the lash till about 4 in the morning. And we were on parade at like 7:30. And honestly, I don't know how I actually got my kit on, because we were stinking. And so I'm stood there, and I'm like this, blowing, and I could feel myself, just slightly swaying. And it's not good for a soldier on parade, that, as you can appreciate. And I'm like thinking, I'm going down here. I'm going to go over here. Felt jockey. And he come upside him, Perry Mason. He must have noticed this, because obviously these guys have got eyes at the back of their head, haven't they? They've seen it all before. They've done it all before. They've been there themselves. He comes over and he goes to me, because I was a sergeant at the time as well. And he says, comes upside him, he says, steady, sergeant. And he started, and I stood there and I thought, and it sort of got the fear got into me, but then he talked to me for a little bit and pulled me around a little bit and sorted me out. And he knew what he was doing. And and when he passed away, I was quite sad, actually, because it really pulled me out of the shit that day. Because if I'd have gone over there, that'd have been it, wouldn't it? Gone over there, that'd have been it, wouldn't it? One, you're never living it down. And two, a sergeant going down because he's tanked up on opening Parliament. It's not good, is it? TV cameras and you're there. Yeah. It was like some. I mean, we're talking about the rugby. I was just thinking about. So I played rugby all over the world. It's took rugby and army and life has took me all over, and it's fantastic for that, because obviously you meet everybody from loads of different places, and you get posted loads of different places. You end up playing sport in loads of different places, And I remember being in Bosnia, and it was sort of winning the hearts and minds of it was just after, the war, and it was winning the hearts and minds. That had all finished, and it was, so we call it blankets and bullets. 1 minute you're blowing shit out of them, next minute you're wrapping them in a blanket. It's when you think about it, it's scandalous, isn't it? And so they said, we're going to play the local team rugby, but it's down in this other village, town, down quite a way away. So what they're going to do is we're going to get changed here, and then we're going to put you in a Chinook and fly you down there, land on the field, you run out, play the game, the Chinook will land again, and you get on and go. We're like, all right. So we get all, and it was bloody freezing. Do you know, Bosnia's got such a climate there. It's red hot in the summer and absolutely Baltic in winter. I mean, right. Baltic. And I was up in the mountains, Mechanicsgrad, on the front line, and it was like -20. It was like snow and mink. It was horrible. Yeah. So we get in the Chinook, and we're all in rugby kit, and it was like free, Baltic up there. These Chinooks are like rattling along, and there's all ice on inside. You sat there in a rugby kit, and you're like, this is crazy. So next minute, we're circling around this pitch, and they're like, and Loadmaster comes over, and he goes, "Don't worry, lads, we're landing in a minute. They're just clearing it of mines. Just doing a mine sweep." Lads are looking at each other going, "Really?" It's crazy.
Did you win the game?
Yeah, we felt, well, it just turned into a brawl at the end. They were just like local mutants, just wanted to fill squaddies in. But yeah, we won. We were just yeah, but it was more. But yeah, honestly, and we got then the Chinook landed and we got back in and flew back to camp. Oh man, you're brilliant. And but I remember sort of all these. It just took me all over rugby, and I'm involved now with a team from Dubai. They're called the Arabian Gulf Legends, and it's ex-servicemen from all over the world get invited, and it's invite only. So my friend, who is a rugby player, Pete Dale, he invited me, and so you're to go on tour. So what they do is they do a summer tour. They go somewhere in Europe. So we've been to Romania, Ukraine before it got levelled. Um, we've been to where else we've been? Georgia. We've been loads of places. Places where rugby isn't such a massive hotbed, and and they love to see us and they really look after us, and we go and look at the war graves of fallen. Like because we're ex-military. Pay us respects. And it's a bit of a cultural thing as well. We go and have a look at stuff, and as well as get absolutely hammered as well. You can appreciate rugby tour. And also we go to Dubai in December and play in the Dubai Sevens as a vets team because we're all over 50. Um, and every year, I mean, I didn't go last year because I'm waiting for a NEOP. But yeah, it's absolutely awesome. We all come together and play. It's like, and that tournament is absolutely unbelievable. It's over like 3 days. It's just unreal. In the middle of the desert in Dubai, they've got the international sevens on in the stadium, and all around it is all like teams from all over the world playing rugby against each other, right from vets down to young academy players. Oh, it's the best thing, and it takes me all. It takes and we go all over with them. It's fantastic. Yeah. So I get a bit of both, but bit of both really. I get my military mates still, and I also get me rugby mates as well. So it's like all in one. It's fantastic.
So how
So
old
I'm
were you when
really
you came out of the
in
army?
terms of that, I was 30.
30, right. And then how old would you have been when we met?
Uh, I don't know. When was it?
Well, how old are you now?
55.
55. So you would have been about 43 then.
Yeah. Is it longer than that? Yeah. Yeah. So about 43. Yeah.
I'll tell the story of how I think we met, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong. so, so obviously we've got a mutual friend in Coxey, and he'd said to me that he's got this mate, Danny, who would like to speak to me about coming and doing some sessions at Prime Mover, which is your gym, used to be my gym. And I've got this really weird thing that I do when I'm talking to someone on text or email or phone. I kind of imagine what they look like, but I'm never right. So for some reason, I thought you were younger because Coxey's a little bit older than me, and you're a little bit older than Coxey, I think. But I thought you were younger than me, and I imagined someone. I think I imagined someone like you remember Cole Fulton. I imagined someone like that. I thought you had dark hair. I thought you were younger. Probably a bit more sly. And then eventually, because I think I was just busy. I wasn't putting you off, but we just never. And eventually, I'm like, mate, I'll put you off long enough. Let's get together. And then you walked in. I'm like, fucking hell. I didn't expect this.
I get that a lot
And
actually.
then I think we must. I bet we met at Costa. I'm sure we would have because that was usually like the.
No.
Where was it?
So, well, just go back a little bit. I know it felt like you were putting me off. Like it felt like you were disinterested in it. Whether that's lost in translation in terms of texting or emails or whatever. But I am. I just thought I'm going to be persistent here. I'm at a restaurant in Leopold Square, and I said, "Oh, I'll come then." and I remember you were eating, and and we've got talking.
Was it the Brazilian place?
Yeah, that Brazilian place where you can eat
Yes,
meat or something like that. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, he was there, and I rocked up, and I still felt you weren't that interested. And I felt honestly, and it's funny, isn't it, how people's each perception of how the meeting's going or whatever. Because I thought oh, he's, you didn't really stop eating, you know. So I thought, fucking hell. So I just, and I thought, well, I'll just say, why I want to, be involved and all that. And we just sort of hit it off, didn't we? Similar sort of people, really. And he said, oh, let's just have a walk down to the gym. So we went down to the gym, and he showed me around and stuff. And then we went for another coffee, didn't we? And had a bit more of a chinwag. Yeah. So it went from, like, I felt you were a bit disinterested in getting anybody new or whatever, to getting on, which was good. And then I was driving. I remember that afternoon you messaged me and said, "Oh, one of the trainers can't come tonight. Do you want to fill in?"
That's right.
And I thought you were testing me. My mindset is always that I'm being tested here.
I've been talking to your dad.
Yeah, my mindset is I'm being tested here. I've got to be on my mettle. So I said, yeah, I can do it. Of course I did. No matter, I didn't even check to see if I'd got all on. I said, yeah, of course I did, because if I'm being tested to see if I'm committed, I've got to make sure I'm there. So I went to Nike shop, straight to Nike warehouse, and I bought myself a new set of gear, new trainers, new socks, new everything. I thought, I'm going to turn up like I mean business. Do you know something, right? And we're going to get onto this. In my view, that's how it should be. Not go and buy new gear, but that's how it should be. You should be like turning up and turning on time and turning out well. So I rolled in, and and our membership now and yours was a lot of women, weren't it? It was more women than men, So I was bursting in, like, right, these are getting it. And you were in the other room, weren't you? So I was in, and I don't know, them women didn't know what I did them.
Well, let me tell my side. So I remember walking in, and the best way I can describe it is, like when you're watching a movie and a bomb's gone off, and everyone's like shell shocked. There were people like on the hands and knees just looking up as if to say, what the fuck just happened? There's people just laid on the back, just you could see the breath coming. And I looked at you and you went, "You're right, boss." Analogy I've got is when I started at Insomniacs DJing, the first set I ever did, I started playing, and 10 minutes into my set, half the people left, but the other half were having a better time. And that's what you were like at Prime Mover. There were people that would see your car and just drive home. They'd got up, they'd got ready, they'd driven 20 minutes to get to the gym. They saw Danny's car and they just fucked off home and came later. But then there's the other people like the Emma Digby, or I mean, loads of them that they only wanted you because they knew what they were going to get.
Yeah, it was a perfect job for me, that, really, because it was like how I wanted to train people. It was a good set. It was a good how the interval training, all the 40-20, 45-15, and all that, perfectly how I learned how to train people, that driving people on, making people have it, but being good as well, in terms of your coaching, because it's easy to stand at the front, like we know, don't we, and shout orders and not coach anybody and not watch anybody's form. Or you should be able to do everything, shouldn't you? Like, you should be able to be kneeling down, talking to somebody, doing, I don't know, the mountain climbers, and saying, do this, do that, and then seeing the corner of your eye that somebody's having a rest over there, oi, being able to control the room. There's a lot to be said for that. And but then they feel that you're omnipresent. I mean, you should be able to go into the toilet while the test is going on and shout, "Get your knees up," because there will be somebody putting the knees down, won't there? Somewhere in Sheffield, there'll be somebody not doing it right. So so and they still get it now. I mean, my sessions are full still. I don't do as many, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's what you've got to be like that. And we had a good. It was a good time, wasn't it? Some good people and some good trainers. I mean, there were a couple of trainers that weren't as good as others, but everybody can't be the same, can they?
Well, not everyone can be a Glazby or a Danny.
That's right. That's right. It'd be boring for everybody else, wouldn't it? If everybody was the same.
That's right. Exactly. Now, you were telling me that you went on a course last week.
Honestly, right. So I'm trying to. So just to go at the moment. So shall we just talk about because it leads into this what I'm going to talk about. Shall we talk about what we talked about a while ago about the quality of people coming through? Right. So I worry for the industry, the fitness industry, and I don't think it'll always be there, and it'll always be, it'll always be whether the quality is there or not, and there is quality people out there, but I really fear for the industry, especially these budget gyms, and even gyms like mine, independent gyms, because the quality of people learning to be instructors, trainers, is so poor in general. And I blame these online courses. I blame the people above not caring what they deliver; they just want the money. I blame the people themselves not wanting to be better, because I think it's frowned upon sometimes that you do have standards, you are strict, you frowned upon if you're intense. It's all gone a bit airy fairy, and and a bit like the intensity's dropped, which I can't go, which I don't like. So what I did is I thought, well, I'm going to take the law into my own hands here, and I'm going to teach the person. So I got the qualification to teach personal trainers how to be personal trainers, to deliver a course from the gym, as well as it being good for revenue. It's a high ticket item that we can sell. So we run a 10-week course here, so I can then impart all my 35 years knowledge, because I did my first course, first PT course in 1989. So and I've trained soldiers, elite soldiers, boxers, rugby players, you name it, as well as guys like who come to the gym, business people, mums and dads, and whatever. So I thought, well, I'm going to supply the next group and train them how I think that they should be in front of trainers. So you're taking the law into your own hands, aren't you? You say, no, I'm not going to. And one of the reasons why is, so obviously it's so hard to find new staff. And we know, Paul, that what happens is you get a good member of staff, they build up a following, they've got ambition, they go somewhere else, take the following with them. So you lose all those clients. And that's the way of the jungle, isn't it? And funnily enough, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 gyms around here of all trainers from here.
Yeah.
So that's 4 people taking business from here.
Yeah.
We're still the best. We're better than all those put together. They couldn't wipe his arse really in terms of the quality, because I'm not
because they're not as good as you.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not overly fussed by I don't want. It's not my. I'm not that kind. I'm not bitter, or I'm not. I don't want anybody to think that I'm bothered that they're leaving. yeah, good luck. Never burn bridges. Good luck. I hope it goes really well for you. Deep inside, you don't feel like that. You hope that it burns down, but um, uh, so I thought. So I thought I would. So I thought it would. I'd take it along into my hands, and fortunately, I've got a couple who work at the gym now for us, who I've trained myself, which is great, isn't it? Because I know that I'm going to get some quality. But when we're looking for new staff before we did this course, the people that would come through the door, oh yeah, they come bowling in. Yeah, I used to work at Pure Gym, and yeah, I've been doing it 5 years. And they roll in, they've got like dirty trainers on, jogging bottoms on that look like they've been, when you don't know the jogging bottoms that you sit around watching telly, got pot noodles down them, and they're all a bit grey, and a football shirt on. You're like, what? Is this how you're turning up for an interview? I'm stood there, sharp as a tack, you know, like, and I'm like, is this how you're turning up? And then the training is dog shit, and you think, well, where have you be? And and what I worry about is they've been delivering that at Pure Gym for 5 years. So people think that that's what it is. And then they come from these gyms here and they get, what happened? What is this madness? Because they've been used to this shit.
Yeah. Well, I went to there's a obviously the gym chain, you've probably heard of it, F45, and I think they're all over the world now. But there was one here on the Gold Coast, and I went there. This is a few years ago. But I just remember looking around, and there's like 30 people in this session, which is obviously more than we ever had it in per session in Prime Mover. So they're making, and they charge a fucking fortune, and the per session, the amount of money that they're making, they've got two trainers on, and I just remember thinking how much better that session would have been if you or me was running it, because one of us would have been better than their two trainers who were just stood talking to each other while there's people doing exercises wrong or not trying or what. You're just bananas, and like you said, that's the standard that people are used to.
Yeah, I don't. I just can't fathom it. I'm really. I mean, I've been to gyms and that. When I've been either on holiday or I've done the same. I've gone to gyms and I've gone to classes and I've thought, well, nobody's said anything to me. Nobody said hello. Nobody's welcomed me. Nobody's asked me if I know what I'm doing. They've just said, not even demoed the exercises. Said, right, there's the mountain climbers, there's this, there's that. I'm like, is that it? Nobody's driven me on. Obviously, if you're self-motivated, you can do it. But it's not like somebody stood over you, driving you on, and five more, whatever, and, go hard. And, I just, honestly, I really, really worry about it. And also, some of the personal trainers as well that are not like taking classes. They're just like, it's just so, they're so uninspiring. If I was going to pay money, I want to be driven more than I can drive myself. I want to be pushed more than I can do myself. That's why I'm paying you. And I think it's all right. It's all well and good having a nice app and stuff and saying, oh, these are the exercises I want you to do and well done on this and that and that. But it's more than that. It's more than that. Personal training is more than that. Otherwise, it'd be fitness training. It's more about the interaction and right, we're in this together. We're going to do this together. I'm going to help you be the person that you want to be. That's why you've come to me. And I'm not taking no for an answer. I'm not taking your excuses. And they buy into your culture. You create that yourself. Between how you run things. And if people don't like that, then go to somebody else who will give you an easy ride and let you off.
Yeah.
If you want to stay, if you want weight loss and you come to me and you don't put the effort in, I'll give you your money back. I mean, I don't do personal training now because I couldn't cope with the rubbish, with the nonsense of people. I've had a bad week. I can't. I'm sort of up to here with it. You either want it or you don't, and I know there's all these people out there. Yeah, but it's more than that. It's all about. Yeah, but you can't speak to people like that. You've got to be. Come on. If you want results, you've got to put some grit behind it. Whether it be training, work, life, you've got to put the effort in. You've got to make sure you've got to drive and strive. You know, if you want to be successful, you don't come easy. And that's why people fall by the wayside, isn't it? And there's no longevity because they hit a road, they hit a bump, and rather than go through it or over it or around it, all right, I'll just do something else. Or, oh, I always get two here, and I never seem to get any further. Yeah, because you haven't got no spunk, no drive, no commitment. You know what I mean? I'm like, get a grip of yourself. Yeah.
Mm.
So going back to your question, sorry,
No.
So what I thought I'd do is diversify because I'm really interested in culture of businesses or groups, teams, football, rugby, sport teams, about how businesses create culture and keep it, and examples that businesses are with a good culture where everybody's engaged are always more successful than businesses that aren't, you know. And I'm interested in that side of maybe me going in and creating that, selling that to a business and changing people from a different angle rather than just the fitness side. So I went on, like I said, I'm easily sold to or impressed by people that know, I feel like they know what they're on about. So I watched this video, and this guy was unbelievable. Andy Harrington, his name is. He's like a public speaker who devised his own method of public speaking, how to structure it, how to sales, and how to, you're always selling, even though you're not, you know, and how you move your hands and gestures and body movements and all that. And he sold it. And I booked a course end of last month, January, in London, in Heathrow Airport, Sheraton, 4 days. Honestly, Paul, honestly, I'd do that course again, even though I don't need to. It was absolutely like blew me mind.
Right.
You know, the quality of it and the information that was part of. He was selling to us, and he showed us how he manipulated us while we were there. Showed us how he got us down there. And he showed us his method of how he does it. And he showed us how to present, how to walk, how to stand, how to talk, and the framework of how to put your whatever business you've got into that framework. So it could work for everything. Right. You know, like, so whatever business you've got, if you want to present it and sell it, you know, the idea, you can put yours in it.
Right. I think I need to come and do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you think that you've got an idea that you want to market, I would suggest anybody goes on it. It's just incredible. You've got to buy into it though, because you've got to buy into because we get there and it's like in the Sheraton, like one of these rooms, and they've got all like little rooms breaking off it, you know, in the conference rooms, and there's a big jumbo screen up. There's a stage. There's only 20 people on the course. There's all like a sound system and audio booth and all that. Next minute, we're all sat there. Lights go down. Ladies and gentlemen, there's only us here. Like it's like we're in O2. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andy Harrington. Next minute, he comes bounding on. Music's oomps, 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 oomps. It was like bloody. It was only 8 o'clock in the morning. It was like. It was like gay crusher. So it was brilliant though, and it was so. It was like, you know, like upbeat all the time. Didn't feel it was like really long hours, but nobody felt tired. And then they break away in small groups, and you'd have an assessor there, and a mentor and an assessor checking on the mentor. So we're really professional, and you would practice what he just showed you. How to present, how to talk, how to walk, your gestures and all that. and then they would give you feedback. So you were building this thing all the time. So I came away with a presentation about what I wanted to do. It was it was incredible, really. Unfortunately for us, in COVID, we built a studio in the gym. So we've got cameras, lighting, we've got microphones, we've got all the whole audio things so we can edit, and it's really cool. So I'm already halfway there in terms of that. So I've been working on my presentation. And what we're going to do is, they changed my idea of what I should do. And so I'm going to start selling the PT courses more in a different way to try to leverage my other business. Yeah, so it's really exciting. Really exciting. So, and then maybe build my own academy. So I actually deliver my own course.
Well, mate, I can't think of anyone better to do it. So there's a few guests that we've had on this podcast, and I said, let's get you back on in a couple of years' time. And I think we definitely need to do that so we can see what's happened since this one.
Yeah. Well, it will have moved on because I'm not I'm sort of immersed.
Hey, when you've got the bit between your teeth, watch out.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Danny, you're the fucking man. I love you. Like I said, you're one of my favorite people. I know we've kind of lost touch a little bit when everything sort of moved across. I just let you get on with it. But when we sat down in September, when I was back, I said to my sister afterwards, I'm like, it's like I'd seen him last week.
That's what I felt like when I said to a few,
Yeah, I think when if you can not see each other for a while and then you just pick up where you left off, I think that's the mark of a real friend. So thank you.
No, man. Listen, it was great to see you. And, I said to a few people, I said, guess who I just had a coffee with? And they were like, Alan. I told Alan, Alan Finley. Anyway, bloody hell, how is it? Because you PT'd Alan, didn't you, before? And he was like, how is it and all that? I said, it was just like old times, like, just talking and laughing and messing about and talking about, the usual stuff, really, innit? As if we'd never been away.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for inviting me on. But it's I love chatting and just chewing the fat. It's great.
You're good at it.
All right. Well, I hope I didn't say just like a load of rubbish, but
no, it's all good, mate. It's all good. All right, mate.
Do you know that? So we're going to start doing a podcast, so we'll have you on.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Perfect.
Because it's about personal training and about the fitness industry, a lot of it, and life. So so we're going to start doing it, So as part of this presentation thing, so we'll have you on, definitely.
Perfect, excellent. I look forward to it.
Yeah, great.
Cheers, pal.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Take care, mate.
See you, mate.
See you.
This is When I Grow Up with Paul Glazby.